Good morning, and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate. Beck and Beck provide complete service for your real estate transaction and bring you guests who provide interesting information about products and services available in our community. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk KGVO. Better water quality for your home and business. That's what it's about this weekend. Welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by the Beck and Beck team at Windermere. First-time guest, Kelsi Staninger, owner of Sapphire Waterworks here in Missoula. Welcome to the show, Kelsi.
Thanks for having me.
You said you'd been in here a couple of years ago, maybe for an interview. Something was going on. So
Yeah. I started my own business, Sapphire Waterworks, almost 2 years ago, and I did a little bit of a feature here at Town Square.
Okay.
And this isn't my first time in the studio.
Yeah. First time on Missoula Real Estate Today, but you've done an interview a time or two before. Well, first things first, we better jump into it. What is Sapphire Waterworks, and what makes it a vital asset to the community?
Well, Sapphire Waterworks is a water testing and water treatment company. We specialize in a couple different areas. So I deal with public water. I'm a certified water operator, and that means I have education and a license to deal with public water systems, like a neighborhood that shares a well, and maintaining all of the water quality needs and the testing for those public water systems. That's about half of my business, and then the other half is private. So if somebody has, a need or request for water treatment and they have their own well, or maybe even city water and they're just not very happy with the water quality, then I deal with treatment in those private locations, whether it be a home or a business or a church or a school, all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That didn't even enter my mind when I was kind of helping. It was prepping some questions, looking at your website. Oh, yeah, city water. Well, water, that certainly makes a lot of sense, too.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of different water sources here in Montana. Yeah. We're just a huge state, and we're so spread out, so we have such a wide variety of water sources here.
Well, to get acquainted about you, Kelsi, your background, what led you to the ownership of Sapphire Waterworks?
Well, I worked for a water testing and treatment company here in Missoula for about 8.5 years, and it was something that I ended up having a lot of experience and education in, and owning my own company was a priority that I've had since I was very young. So I decided that I would start it myself 2 August ago. Wow. And my main priorities with owning a company were that I would be able to have a little bit more scheduling flexibility, be able to provide the style of service that I see fit. I really want to be able to keep the business to a size where I can have very personal service with people. Education is really important to me, making sure that my clients know why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, and that they understand the treatment instead of just selling them equipment. I want them to know what it does and why it's being recommended, so that they are also empowered to maintain their water system and feel good about the choices that they've made.
Well, that'll lead me to my next one here on Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate here on News Talk KGVO. And my guest is Kelsi Staninger, owner of Sapphire Waterworks here in Missoula. What makes you so passionate about operating a business like that?
Well, I really enjoy being able to provide a service to this community. I have a long family history in this area. So my great-grandparents came here from Germany and raised many generations of my family just down the street from where I live now.
No kidding.
Yeah. And so being able to provide a service that is a very positive and necessary contribution to the Missoula and the surrounding areas, it feels really great. So public health is such a huge part of what I do. I care deeply about the health of the residents, and the education, the experience that I have in water treatment, I can pass that on to people and help protect them and their families.
What was it that you recognized that you were in the profession for some time working for someone else? What was it you recognized that said to you Missoula and surrounding areas could benefit from what you have to offer?
Well, this area has been just growing like crazy. As we all know, the Missoula area is just constantly changing and growing, and there is always going to be a need for clean, safe drinking water. So I did notice in my previous position that we were just constantly busy, and I knew that there was a need for more water specialists out there to, fill that gap in the industry. So
just kind of ran with it from there.
yeah, wow. Absolutely.
Now, what are all the areas you service right now at Sapphire Waterworks?
Well, even though I'm based in Missoula, I do travel about 1 to 2 hours in every direction.
Okay.
So I've got clients all around this area. And when I first started, I did have an intention of kind of staying a little closer to Missoula, and I realized that the best thing to do would be to follow the need. So as people were calling me further and further away, I just kind of went with it. So yeah. Yesterday I was out in Ronan, about an hour away, and I've gone out as far as Phillipsburg, that direction.
That's kind of pushing the 2-hour rule, I think. But
Yep. But the great thing is, if I have somebody contact me that is out of my service area, there's still ways that I can help them.
Sure.
And I like to be able to do my best to do that. So if somebody is a bit far away and they can send me water samples, I can do an analysis of that and give recommendations, and then maybe work with their local plumber to get the water treatment installed, and I'm not having to travel quite as far. So
okay. Can I ask you, are there certain certifications that you are required to have, and does it matter what county you're servicing at the time?
So my certification as a water operator, that covers me for the state of Montana.
Okay, great.
And the water operator's position that applies to public water. As far as the private water sources, really, that license is not necessary for that portion, but it obviously helps.
Indeed. Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate, on Newstalk KGVO. And my guest, Kelsi Crisp Staninger, owner of Sapphire Waterworks here in Missoula. Your relationship, Kelsi, with Diane and Becky at Windermere, and realtors in general, where might your paths cross?
Well, as I was saying earlier, being a long-term resident,
Yes.
lifelong resident of this area, I know a lot of realtors already. Diane, in particular, lived very close to me when I was growing up.
Oh, man.
And her daughter and I played together when we were kids. So that was how I originally met her way back.
Yeah.
But in the professional world, I have worked with Diane, as well as Becky in the process of selling and buying homes. There's a lot of need for water quality tests and analysis. So I've worked with them a lot to make sure that when they're selling a house, that the water is safe for the buyer. Also, I provide education for realtors. So I've contacted the realty companies in the area, and I come in for one of the team meetings, and I like to just sit down and chat with them about water quality and water quality needs, so that they can make sure that they're not just doing, the requirements, the bare minimums when it comes to water testing, that I know the aquifers in this area very well. So maybe all they have to do is take a bacteria sample, but I say, hey, I actually know that in this area there's, a different issue. I think we should test for that too. And so they rely on me to give those recommendations so that we can further protect the health of the buyers of that home.
Diane has invited over the years representatives of the Watershed Education Network to come in on this program. Is that somebody you've ever interacted with in any way? Are you familiar with them?
I am familiar. I know that they have a lot of, they have a board and meetings and make sure to contribute to the drinking water, the water safety in the area. But I personally have not been to those.
Yeah, okay. At the beginning of the program, you did mention that you had some concerns about the water quality in your other profession, and you wanted to take it a step forward. What is your overall assessment of Missoula's water quality? How do we measure up?
Yeah, well, we are very fortunate here.
Okay.
We obviously have a lot of large mountains, snow, and glaciers even. So our aquifer here is plentiful, and it's pretty clean as well. So as far as city water goes, I would say it's definitely some of the best.
Good.
And Missoula Water Company does take care of the testing and requirements to keep that clean and safe for everyone. And then as far as private water sources go, that really varies per area as to what you're going to get. But overall, the water issues that we have in this area are, I would say, minimal compared to what it could be in others. We're pretty fortunate.
And do you see that fluctuate from county to county a little bit? Because you are working in a number of counties in western Montana.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are definitely some areas that have very specific water issues, and it's just predictable. You hear where the address is, and they're going to have a problem with iron in the water here. For example, the Frenchtown, Houston area, there's just a lot of iron in the water. And I've found that there's also some little areas that have arsenic contamination in the water. That's actually a pretty prominent issue that we find in Montana, and it's something that there's pockets all over, such as Potomac or certain areas of the Bitterroot and Charlotte, Montana. So, I really like to have notes as well as, kind of keep track of what things I find in certain areas. And that way I can apply that in the future.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate here on News Talk KGVO. And my guest, a first-time guest, Kelsi Crisp Staninger, owner of Sapphire Waterworks here in Missoula. Also, thanks to a couple of Diane and Becky's marketing partners that also help bring you the show. Rob Fleming at Man Mortgage and Miles Link at Opportunity Bank of Montana. And back to Kelsi. Let's see if we can get you a few customers here. Drum up some biz, Kelsi. If somebody wants to have you inspect their water quality, what are the steps in the process?
Well, I believe it's really important to not treat it as a one-size-fits-all thing. It really is not. So when somebody wants their water system inspected, I'm going to have a good conversation with them. What are your concerns? What are things that maybe you've experienced with your water that are either unpleasant or that you feel you might want to change? As well as the condition of things like the well cap and your pressure tank and well pump. So I'm going to gather as much information as I can. And then I would like to, after that, I do recommendations of what testing I think should be done, what I'm going to look into so that I can really gear my report and recommendations to that specific water source.
What are some of the reasons customers might contact you? Have they noticed something about their water that they are concerned about? I don't know, taste or smell, or is it more of a let's make sure it's okay kind of situation?
Yeah, I definitely get a solid mixture of both things. Yeah, I would say that the prominent issues that people are contacting me for, one of the very top would be orange water or orange staining in the tubs, toilets, that sort of thing. Iron is all over in the water here, and so it's not the most pleasant looking thing if you turn on your tap and the water is orangish or yellow.
Yeah.
So
It's not that easy to remove either. It's a little bit stubborn.
Yeah, it can be.
Ask my shower stall.
It definitely can be, but that's why testing is really important.
Okay, all
So
right. Didn't mean to sidetrack you there.
no, I do a lot. I do a lot of testing to make sure that when treatment is recommended, that we're really going to be able to tackle that issue. So.
Okay, and of course you're looking out for your plumbing and appliances and things like that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that leads me to the other prominent issue that people are contacting me for, which would be that little white buildup that you get on your faucets and a little bit of clogging maybe that happens in the aerators. We have very hard water here. So minerals will stick to the surfaces and it can make your faucet not spray all the way. It can damage plumbing and appliances. And so people do notice that hardness, and a lot of people really don't know where that's coming from and what it is. And so that's where that education comes back. I like to let them know this is why that's happening. Totally fixable. We got this.
Why do we have hard water here? Do we have harder water than average, or what is it about it?
We do have very hard water, and the hardness is a high mineral concentration in the water, calcium, magnesium, and that is going to come from the water source. So we have very deep flowing aquifers. That water is going to dissolve minerals in the ground. And then that is picked up by the water and carried through to your faucet. So, we live in a mountainous area. We, like I said, those deep aquifers, and that is going to contribute to that hardness. If you have a water source that's coming from a spring that flows on, above ground, then that's going to be more naturally soft water because it doesn't have the ability to pick up those minerals. So we do have some soft water in this area, but it's usually going to be coming from something like a spring or surface water.
Yeah. All right. Missoula Real Estate Today presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate here on News Talk KGVO, with my guest, Kelsi Crisp Staninger, owner of Sapphire Waterworks here in Missoula, and servicing a lot of areas of western Montana as well. Common deficiencies, Kelsi, that you typically find in our area when you do a water quality inspection.
Mm-hmm. So kind of coming back to some of the things we've already spoken about would be, the common deficiency of having a lot of iron in the water, a lot of hardness. But one that is concerning is the arsenic contamination. So since that is coming up a lot in our area, the problem with that one is you can't taste it, you can't smell it or see that it's there. And so I always recommend to people, if you haven't done water testing and you have something other than city water, then, let's get some tests done and see what's in there so that we have that peace of mind that it's clean and safe, and that your water is not just potable, but also pleasant.
What are the things I know? I assume that not all plumbing is the same, right? Right. Older plumbing that can lead to some issues too. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a large project happening right now, coming down from the EPA to find and eliminate lead in water. Some people don't know that lead is not coming from the water source. It's coming from the pipes and also some solder that was used, lead solder that used to be used. So that is something that we are able to test for very easily and cheaply to see if there is lead in the sources, and we're able to, hopefully locate where that's coming from. And let's replace a pipe, let's replace a fixture, and then that lead issue is taken care of. So this large lead project that's happening, like I said, it's coming down nationwide, but Montana's due dates to get these projects started to find these lead lines is due in October. So we're really looking forward to seeing, what people are finding and starting to get rid of those those poisonous lead lines and really protect people's drinking water safety to a much better degree. Yeah.
I suppose as far as it being a taste issue, unless you notice you've been in this location for a while and okay, the water tasted like this for a while and all of a sudden it doesn't taste like that, then you might notice something. But I suppose if it's just a very minor taste issue, it's something that you might get used to as opposed to being concerned about it. But definitely the latter is where you should be thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I like I was saying with arsenic, you can't taste, smell it, anything like that. And there's a lot of other problems with water that you might not ever notice. Bacteria, certain levels of bacteria, you're not going to notice that either. And so, this is water chemistry we're talking about, and we can, get those proper tests done and find the things that you can't detect, or like you said, that you've gotten used to after consuming it for a while.
Sure.
So, I always just encourage people, a phone call is free, an email is free. Just reach out, ask some questions. I'm here. So.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate on News Talk KGVO. And my guest, Kelsi Staninger, owner of Sapphire Waterworks. How much time do you usually need to do installations, and what is involved in the maintenance follow-up?
Well, the installation time is going to vary quite a bit on what we're putting in, anywhere from a couple hours to maybe, 6 hours or so. It's usually not an all-day thing, though. Water treatment, maintenance there afterwards. I really like to, gear that plan how it works for the client. So I have service schedules, routine service schedules. I'm coming out maybe every 3 or 6 months, or maybe even just once a year, depending on what they have in their home. And I'm just taking care of that maintenance. And then there's the client. We live in Montana. We have a lot of do-it-yourself kind of people here. So another thing that I offer is, I'm going to train you how to maintain that water system yourself, save you a little bit of money in that process, not having to pay the labor, and give you the power to take care of it once I have that installed. So.
Now, I know you've only owned this business a couple of years, but you've been around the business for quite a while.
Yeah.
Equipment you use for testing, have there been any advances, there we go, in the industry you found to be beneficial over the years that you've been doing this?
Well, as far as the testing goes, I do have a small range of tests that I do in my own lab to help with my recommendations. But as far as that deep water analysis testing for larger things, maybe the lead or arsenic, the bacteria, those are all things that I work with local laboratories to get processed. So we have RD Water Lab here in Missoula. Her team processes my bacterial samples. They're an awesome company and really do a great job taking care of that. And then anything larger than that, I work with a few different labs, send those out into Helena, Kalispell. Also, there's a place in Ravalli, and they are state certified laboratories that deal with a huge, wide range of tests.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate on News Talk KGVO. My guest, Kelsi Staninger, owner of Sapphire Waterworks here in Missoula. You also provide water quality training for other professions. What's involved there, and who might benefit from that?
Yeah, I work with a lot of different people who are adjacent to my industry. So, of course, the realtors, but home inspectors, plumbers, builders, and pump specialists. Yeah. These are all people who, our business constantly crosses paths. And I want to make sure to let them know what my company does, where I can help their process for their clients. Like I was saying with the sale of a home, let's make sure that water's clean for the buyer. If we're dealing with maybe a plumber, and they're going to deal with the, getting the water to the faucets. And then I'm going to make sure that water's clean. So I have a lot of great contacts here in town, and we just throw that business back and forth and just make sure that our clients are going to get the best service in all of those areas. I do the education by, sitting down and meeting with them at their company team meetings. Maybe if it's a smaller company, we just do a one-on-one. We have a lunch. We talk about it a bit. So it just really, I'm available for that training, however it works best for each company.
Wow, that's great. I want to skip down to the bottom here because I don't want to miss my favorite question, before we run out of time. I ask every guest about success stories. Any project or projects that you've been involved in recently that you have found especially rewarding?
Yeah, I would say first, I have dealing with the real estate industry so much.
Yeah.
I get a lot of calls for we need to make sure we get a good bacteria sample for this sale. And they get a bad bacteria sample. So they call me and say, I want to shock the well. I need a disinfection. And I could just come out and do that disinfection, but sometimes that is not going to solve the problem. Okay. So with the experience that I have, I can do a little bit of research to see if that's going to be the proper solution. And let's say somebody has a well and it's only, 15 feet deep. Those wells are really highly susceptible to contamination. So if I shock that well, it's probably going to be bad in a couple weeks, and then that client is never going to know that, and they could get sick. So I will do that research. I'll find out, they've got this really shallow well. Instead of chlorinating the well, how about let's install a treatment system that's going to keep it clean all the time? And so knowing that is something that can happen and having that experience, I could keep somebody from getting sick with that knowledge. And I really like being able to help people like that.
What makes Sapphire Waterworks worthy? What do you want to see and taste before you give it your stamp of approval?
Well, I'm obviously being in this industry for over 10 years. I am very picky about water.
Yeah.
So it's pretty basic though. We're talking about very clear in color. We don't want any cloudiness in that water. We don't want any funky smells. We don't want it to smell metallic or like sulfur or anything. It just should smell nice and clean and clear. And then just have that clarity. And, people have different preferences, but overall, it should just be clean, clear, and not have any scent to it.
Wow. All right. Good answer. Running out of time here. Missoula Real Estate Today presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate on News Talk KGVO. My guest has been Kelsi Staninger, owner of Sapphire Waterworks, and you've been an awesome guest. If people want to contact you and find out more about Sapphire Waterworks, what's the best way to go about that?
Well, you can visit my website, sapphirewaterworks.com. There's a wealth of information on there, as well as a place to call me or send me a message. So feel free to visit my website, look me up online, and I will be looking forward to hearing from you.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson of Windermere, and my guest, Kelsi Staninger, owner of Sapphire Waterworks. You've been a great guest, wonderful interview, and I hope you'll come back sometime.
Really appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate. For current listings and services Beck and Beck provide, visit movetomissoula.com. That's Missoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.